Scott Paul,
Steve McMinn,
Vidal de Teresa,
Nick Koch,
Bob Taylor,
Kevin Burke.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Taylor Guitars World Forestry Tour. Today, touchdown the Hawaiian Islands, and specifically the Big Island of Hawaii, where Nick Koch, forester, and one of the 6-person team that Bob assembled, this is his home territory. This is where Nick has been living and working for the last 16 years planting koa forests. It is absolutely unbelievable. As far as it seemed like I could see, I was seeing koa trees in all different states of maturity, from young seedlings all the way up into large trees. It was really an amazing experience. We're going to hear from Nick and we're going to hear from Bob. You're going to love this stop in the tour.
My name is Nick Koch and we're in West Hawaii. Today we're visiting a forest where we're going to be working on a koa project in the coming year. So this morning we came up this road here, which is very steep. I came up from the main coastal highway. We drove up on this little piece and we are right here right now. This piece here is a 14,000 acre, around 5,000 hectare forest. We will be driving through this forest, which is where the project that Paniolo Tonewoods is working on in the coming years. Mm-hmm. So we're going to transition through native forest, one of the few remaining native forests in South Kona. So this is a kind of a unique ecosystem in South Kona. So we're going to see some nice native forest today. This road is a bit rough, but we'll be able, and I'll point it out as we go. The larger estate, this whole chunk, is a little bit over 20,000 acres, so that's what, 8,000 hectares. The upper portions of which are not forested. And this portion here was at one time grazed for dairy and then later for meat cattle up until about 1997. So post 1997, the area has begun to recover. However, the effects of past land use remain, and the project is to restore that forest to a better native forest condition than when it is now.
What are the elevations here, just in?
Okay, so here we are at 2,300 feet and change. We're going to go up to about 3,000 feet, more or less. 3,400 feet approximately is the elevational area that we're going to be working in.
What's this up here? Elevation?
This is around 5,000, 8,000, and the property goes all the way up to, I think, 12,000.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this is just higher than koa grows?
There's koa here, it's just very sparse. So forest types. Ohia dominated, koa ohia, ohia and tree ferns. Tree ferns end right around here, and you start getting only koa ohia with a few sandalwood. And up here it's koa and mamane, which is another native pea species. And koa mamane is all throughout here, and then it's only mamane and a few, and ali'i, which is a shrub species up further, and then you get into the alpine zone.
Okay.
So, can you tell us a little bit about the high conservation area? Like, why was that designated high conservation?
Okay, so this area, this whole forest is highly invaded by weeds in this zone. This forest at these lower elevations is highly invaded. Some of the species that can be seen here, Arthrostema behind me, and there's a lot of strawberry guava in this forest as well. As you move uphill, we call it Mauka in Hawaii, you move into cleaner native forest. And the cleanest of the native forest is in this zone. There are not, I've said this earlier, there's not many native forests left in South Kona. Most of it has been either converted to pasture, Kelikakua, housing estates, pasture over here. So there's not much native forest, and of the native forest, most of them are highly invaded by weeds. So an intact native forest such as this is actually pretty unique in South Kona. That's why it's high conservation value forest.
Right.
In the original management plan that was FSC certified, this area was never going to be harvested.
Okay. How many hectares is the conservation?
Rough numbers, it's probably around, I want to say 3,000 or 4,000 acres.
Okay.
I think a lot of progress has been made in the last 10 years, particularly in recovering that native forest, because it's a change away from cattle and toward native forest management.
So the project that we're going to do we'll be taking out dead and dying trees and restoring the forest as we leave and come out of there. Get fencing around it so that the cattle's a big issue. It ruins these forests.
Cattle and sheep are your main. We have a ranch here. We have a ranch here. This ranch, both of them have cattle that from time to time escape into this area. So we need to have a good fence. We have feral sheep roaming the whole mountain. We'll need a fence for that. And we're going to need to do some work to restore, to plant trees and to get them back to where they were before as well.
How do you plant the new trees?
We prepare the soil. As you can see, the soil here is very hard. So we prepare the soil with an excavator, or at least that's the plan. And seedlings from Maui, from seed here, Maui's grown back here in the ground, and then we'll plant the trees. We'll see that this afternoon.
How do you do the distribution of the seeds? Do you fill like in plantation of mahogany trees? You put in line, or?
Oh, it'll just be random. We'll see that this afternoon. You'll see exactly what it will look like. Well, or similar to what it will look like.
Nick, there's a fence at this area that we're starting.
Yeah.
But this is one of a series of fences?
It's one single fence that we maintain under contract from the landowner.
Okay.
It surrounds the whole forest. It goes all the way around. I actually cut this piece off, but it goes all the way around here.
Okay.
It runs up on the sides here as well. So that's this fence here, which is a hog wire fence. And you'll see the holes at the bottom are smaller than the holes at the top. That's to keep smaller pigs from going through. So it's intended to be a hog-proof fence, but mainly it keeps cattle and sheep out.
And what is the cost to install that fence?
Per foot, probably $9 a foot.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think we have a budget of $300,000 to fence the project that we're starting on.
Yeah, that's about the numbers we're talking.
That's the first expense that we'll go through. We'll spend $300,000 on fence.
Wow.
We must remember that fences don't grow trees. They don't grow a single tree. That's what hurts me as a
What do you do
forester
with all the animals that are now inside in the forest?
So there's a hunt club. Their cabin is here, and they have a lease on this whole area for hunting, archery. They're an archery hunt club of mainly Hawaiian families that have had it for generations. They will be helping us with the hunting part of this. When they're done and they can't find any more animals, we'll do a sweep. We'll get them out. We'll probably hire professional hunters to finish the job. But we'll work with the hunting club, whatever they want to do. I think we'll find a way to work with them.
Are they hunting pigs only?
They mainly hunt sheep.
They hunt sheep.
Yeah, because up at this elevation, sheep is the game animal of choice. There's
see.
pigs up here, but there's not that many. And here, pigs are more of a hunting, and this is open to the public once a year for a month in November. I think it's in November for public hunting, but not wide open public. They give you a key, the gates we went through, and you're able to come in here and do customary rites.
Are the sheep and the pig indigenous here?
No.
They're
The
not.
pig was brought by the Polynesians. The sheep was brought by Westerners for wool. So it's regular sheep from the New Zealand.
What is indigenous here in terms of larger wildlife?
Nothing.
The goose is about as big as it gets. There were birds, larger birds, but they were eliminated by the Hawaiians.
No mammals.
The bat
Yeah,
is the
one
only
bat.
mammal.
I see.
The Hawaiian hoary bat, endangered, is the only known mammal.
So Nick, why are cattle and sheep enemies of restoring a coral forest?
So any pea species is highly desirable because it has a lot of nitrogen for an animal to graze. So we have sheep and cattle both really like legumes. And koa being a legume, or mamani being a legume, they'll browse on it. And even non-legumes will get browsed to some extent, or at least trampled upon by the cow. So it's just, you either have animals or you have a forest. You can't really have both in Hawaii. It's really difficult. It's actually impossible to have both.
It's a salad bar every day.
Yeah.
It's every day. The new koas grow up this much, and the cattle come and eat it every day. It's a salad bar, and the trees can't get started.
Yeah.
Right. And
We visited a place on one tour where people had their cabins to stay, so they made a fence to put their horses inside, which meant that it kept the cattle out. It was a square, half acre or something. And inside there, koa trees just growing like crazy, all by themselves. Nobody tried to do anything. They just grew. That's what a fence will grow a forest here. And if we help it along, it'll grow it better and faster.
And that's what this whole project is about, is growing the trees faster in an area. Fence it off, keep the animals out, then bring back the forest by actually planting it, rather than just waiting for things to happen.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's a nutshell of...
What about, some people think koa is endangered, but it's not.
No, it's...
Tell me about that.
Koa is very common, but large koa trees are not very common any longer.
That's right.
And the
On
koa
private land.
On private land.
There's large trees on state land.
And on private lands that are protected under conservation. This is in this forest, by the way, is in a conservation district. That means it's protected from harvesting, except if you go through a defined legal process.
I see.
So most koa that are left that are of any size are legally protected in one way or another. The ones that were easy are gone.
Okay.
Legally easy.
do you have koa in all the islands?
All the main Hawaiian islands had koa.
Can you find koa in other places
Koa is endemic.
out of Hawaii?
No, koa is endemic to Hawaii, so it's only found in Hawaii.
So the Ohio is more southern, the koa is more...
This is north, is this direction,
But
south is
I
this
meant
direction.
altitude, forgive me, like from an altitude standpoint.
Ohia
that
occurs everywhere from the ocean all the way up to high elevation. Just who dominates the forest. So he is a very wide-ranging species. So we talk about adaptive radiation, where you have species that cover wide varieties. Ohia is
everywhere.
yeah.
We have Ohia
Unfortunate-
here, right?
Yeah,
This.
that's an Ohia.
The big one right in front of us?
That's Ohia. That's Ohia. That's Ohia.
This is Ohia right here. This little one.
Yes, it is.
And is
So-
that also an acacia?
No.
No.
Ohia is a myrtaceae. It's related to eucalyptus.
And it's not really a valuable timber species. People make things out of it, but not on a main.
No, it's heavy.
It's heavy.
Cracks, and you can see the form is not particularly good. And it's an endemic and emblematic native tree, and it grows very slowly, so it doesn't really make sense to cut it and use it too much. Now I'll also point out while we're here, rapid Ohia death. These trees are presenting symptoms. I don't know if they have it, but they're presenting symptoms of rapid Ohia death, which is a fungal disease that has begun to affect Ohia around the island. Those trees.
Yeah.
That's the symptoms of rapid Ohia death. There's a very defined test to find out if it's really a rapid Ohia death. Here's another tree over there that's presenting the same symptoms. Quick decline of the canopy. Then we have another one up there, behind there, and this one over here.
And if you got it, is it going to spread?
Yes. Thus far, there's been no proven resistance. We saw what happened to... We were in Malaysia, and we saw what happened with Ceratocystis, a different species, but Ceratocystis, the fungus group, in Malaysia with Acacia mangium. This is currently happening with Ohia in Hawaii.
Acacia mangium was an important species in Malaysia. It grew well. People were making furniture out of it. We saw that even in Vietnam. But now in Malaysia, they're planting different species just because of the fungus. So the Acacia mangium is out, and a eucalyptus species is in that's making nice furniture.
The difference is here, this is the native tree.
And so it's
The native tree.
yes, it's the native tree. It's the most important native tree, and especially culturally into the forest and what this forest wants to be. So
Yeah, this
What do you do?
This is
You
a
can't-
forester's nightmare.
yeah, it's a forester's nightmare.
There's not much to do about it, but this will be very different for Hawaii forest as we go forward.
Yeah.
We should move along.
Let's move along. Amazing thing about this tour, one of my favorite things, is we've gone to places that the public can't go. We've been given keys to gates. We've been ushered into places that are way back. You've seen where we've driven, you've seen where we've walked,
We've seen aerial views, and this isn't something that anybody would normally even get to see. It's just a completely different view of Fiji and Hawaii and Malaysia and Africa. I mean, the things that we've seen here have just been unbelievable. I can't believe how much fun we've had, how educational it's been. It's just been awesome. Do you agree, Kevin? It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. You can't. It is. It's been amazing. You can't come here. Look at where we're driving, and the owners of the land, the owners of the plantations, the natural forests like this that are having a little bit of work done to it.
Look at the koa reseedling here, right next to us.
Yeah,
Right
just
here next to the
koa
car.
just coming up out of the
This
ground.
wasn't planted, that's
It's unbelievable.
just coming up from the forest seed.
What an honor and privilege it's been to be able to just come to these places.
Oh, wow, look at this.
We got taken up into villages high in the mountains in Fiji where you have to go through a kava ceremony just to go past the house. You know, you're not allowed to just go up there and look around. And we've seen all these places. We've made friends. We've made associations. We've educated ourselves. We've got inspiration. We're taking home just suitcases full of inspiration. And I think we have a lot of great things that can happen in the future.
You know, just like a bird drops seeds as it flies around, it seems like we've dropped seeds and taken seeds with us to the next place and exchanged.
That's a great way to put it, Paul. It's just been wonderful. And a lot of the travel's been hard, but every minute of it's been just exciting. You know, opening gates. Hola, Viran. You know, you don't get to open gates and come to places like it's just a privilege to be here.
This
Nicholas.
Bob is the one you and I came to with Steve
Yes.
a couple of years ago. It's now been pruned.
Uh-huh.
So that there was 1 year, and this is now 2 years.
2 years.
722 trees per acre.
Fantastic.
We finished with weed control, and then here's just natural growth. And this area wasn't planted, so planted, not planted.
Yeah. Wow. I remember when we came here, and these trees were this tall, just like the ones we saw there. And look at them. They're growing. Look how they're going, Kevin. These were done with the chicken foot, like we call it, and they were down in those holes, but they seem to be surviving well. Growing straight, they've been pruned. And it's being grown not for timber. This is all being grown for restoration, as I understand it, and there's no plan in the future to. This is not a plantation, a timber plantation. This is just forest restoration. Just beautiful. You know, can you imagine going to Malaysia and going where we went? You can't go there as a tourist. You know?
No, you can't. You can't get to the places we've been, and you'd have to be a dork to enjoy trees this much.
Well, we're the Dork Club. That is for sure. It's been a month. It's been a month of driving around on roads like this. You know,
6 dorks and a cameraman.
I mean, really, we slept in containers in swampy, sticky, bug-infested, people pulling leeches off their legs, rolling up their pants and finding another one, blood dripping down as they're walking through the stuff. Those guys get over rubber boots, you know. Those are places, actually, a minute ago I'm talking like you can't get here, but in reality you don't want to get here. It's some of the places you don't even want to get, you know, leeches and sweat and heat and bugs. How about when we were in Africa and there was 150 bugs, not 150, 1,000 bugs on every one of our faces, just the gnats flying around. I looked like the bee lady, you know, on my arms, just gnats all over me while we were walking through those areas. Scott sprained his ankle, probably broke it. We'll get an x-ray in a couple of weeks, or a couple of days. He's been walking around with a whatever stick pole he can find in the forest. He looks like Ichabod Crane walking around and limping in, limping out, going where we can go. Sometimes he has to sit it out. We tape up his foot every day. He elevates it when we sit around and keeps it up high as much as he can. We've fed him ibuprofen and he's just moving around. I think we're going to probably find a fracture in there. But for the most part, we've been healthy.
Yeah, remarkably healthy.
Remarkably healthy.
It's been fantastic to be so healthy and be able to walk around.
Yeah, just unbelievable. So, what a great experience this has been. And
oh, look at this coat. That's here.
oh yeah, these are koas here. Coming up on a bunch of new koas. Look at those back there. And you know what's really interesting is the more I come, the more I can see the koas. The first few times I came to Hawaii, it's like, you know, which one's a koa? But Kevin's good at identifying them.
I think I'm being boxered.
You're being boxered? You're being boxered from the car up ahead. Wow. What fun.
Kevin, thank you for this information and for using the Boxer Association. Please tell me down. There is more koa in front of us. Kevin Scott with your Fox update. 2009, no pruning on the left.
Okay. So this is high density planting, and they saw there's no advantage to planting them densely. They're going to branch anyways.
Right.
And so why not go to a 12 by 12 instead of a 7 by 7 spacing if you're not going to get straight limbs, and you'll have to maybe thin them anyways.
Venga, espera un momento, wait a minute.
Don't tickle me.
Put some lipstick on him.
He'll
speak.
the whole trip.
No, you gotta wet your fingers and do it.
Come on, get the lipstick out.
No.
Little rouge. He'll start talking.
I'll look Australian if I get my hair sticking up.
Now you look better. Like
Okay,
this.
I'm gonna come see you in the morning. What time?
Now you are nice. Wait.
You want me to be like you, right?
Rico Suave.
I've never parted my hair on this side my whole life.
It's time to change, man.
Well, my hair, it just does what it does.
Wow. You look, eh?
No.
Hey, who's the new guy?
Are you gonna give me the damn quote or what?
This is what it's been like the whole trip with you. More and more and more. It's gone and found every tree in this area, which is 500 and so acres. We've marked every single one of them. We've also recorded their diameters so we know how many trees and what their sizes are. That allows us to plan, make a harvest plan, and predict where we're going to have impacts on the area so that we can restore the forest just after harvesting.
These yellow dots signify a tree?
That's each tree. I'm standing on a koa log right now, not only for visual effect, but also just an example of some of the trees. A good substantial portion of them are of this size class. Some of these will be left behind for habitat. Some of them will be taken for use. From these trees, we're going to use the dollars that are contained inside of this tree to spread across the landscape and convert into seedlings and new forest.
Okay.
And fencing and other things that we need to do to recreate a forest. So I think of these as little dollar bills rolled up in there, and then they can spread out into the forest and be replanted. So we'll go and look at some actual koa trees that are in the forest. This one here could be taken as well. This particular one is probably rotten, but there are other ones that are sound. The second map that you have, if I remember correctly, has stands in it. A stand in a forest is a particular area that's similar to all the others, and so we demarcated those using aerial photography. And that's a planning unit, or a unit so we can plan what we're going to do in the forest. And then the third map, the one that looks like this, is a fencing map. And it has the fences, the different colors signify different things we got to do to the fence. In some areas we got to repair a fence, some areas we got to build a new fence. Just as a recap, that's $300,000 investment that's going to go into this place. Up front, which unfortunately doesn't grow a single tree, but it enables all the other trees to grow. I mean, we need to protect the forest first. Okay, so this is one of the trees that you've already seen on the map. One of the yellow dots. I don't know which one, but we're close to the road, so you can kind of get an idea. This is how many inches in diameter, Steve?
About 30.
30 inches in diameter. And we don't know its age, but probably 70, maybe 80 years in age. The intent...
It's not dead, but it's dying.
Yeah, it's on its way out. We can see the crown is flat. The top branches are dying. The tree is in its slow decline. Trees don't die immediately, or usually don't. They die slowly. A good example is that ohia over there. It's slowly dying from the top down.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just sort of crumble. That's what happens. And so you start getting this. Anyway, the tree is on its way out. You got to remember what this project is about. The project is about taking these trees and restoring the forest with the revenues that creates. This creates a certain amount of revenue. This tree here is probably worth maybe 2 acres of planting, 3 acres of planting. So this one tree can actually restore a good chunk of the forest. Yeah. This happens to be a pretty large tree, so it'll restore a larger area of the forest versus a small tree, which would be a smaller area of the forest.
We want to get the maximum value, so we'll push it over, right, Steve?
We'll push it over, and then we'll cut as close to the roots as we can. We'll try to take veneer pieces if we can to get best yield, and then we'll take guitar sets on those that are appropriate, lumber on those that aren't.
There's a lot of wood in that tree, but there's a lot of wood down here. Normally, if you hired a logger, they'd cut that out and that little bit right there, or scar it up when it falls. Break things.
And because we have our own equipment, we can use straps to pick things up. We can treat them very gingerly. We're not going to be dragging them around with bulldozers over rocks. At every step, we can squeeze all the value out of it that there is, because it's this limited precious resource.
Right.
Nick, explain to me what you're looking at in terms of what we're looking at now, and then what it will look like after being restored. Like, why does this need to be restored?
Okay,
what are we looking at?
What we're looking at now is a history of timber extraction, but more cattle grazing over a period of 120 or so years. This area was under a cattle lease of one sort or another. First the dairy, then ranching. So all these non-native grasses, this is Kikuyu grass, native of Africa but not native to Hawaii, is our introduced species. So what we're seeing here is a landscape that's been altered from the original native forest and is now a lot more open than a normal native forest would be. So it's normal for this part of Kona. The upper Kona forests are altered in this way because of the cattle grazing over time. So the project is to reverse that trend back into native forest, back into, sorry, if you could take it and say, let's reverse the time only goes one way, but in the sense of a forest structure, returning where we were 150 years ago. You can hear all these birds. The majority of those birds, or a good portion of them, are native birds. They need habitat to live in, so that's part of the project as well. Numerically, we've already done a bird survey here. We're in the process of doing a plant or a botanical survey here. These will establish, and then we're going to do an archaeological survey. So those will establish the baseline from which we can actually numerically quantify what the improvements have been. There will be improvements, but it's like, well, okay, that's nice to hear as a concept, but what are they numerically? So you have the concept of restoration, then you have the numbers to back it up as well. Steve was talking about pushing this tree over or uprooting it in one way. There will be a lot of koa. Right in the seed shadow of this tree will be a thick canopy of koa.
It'll grow up like a carpet.
Yeah, right here. Over there, where there are no koa, it will not. So that's where we got to plant. If we plant, we'll plant around 150 trees per acre. Here, we'll have to thin and reduce the number of trees per acre. How many trees will plant?
There's 1,400 acres.
Yeah.
So
what we can say is that the 1,400 acres that we have today, I have no problem saying that will be much better when we are finished with this forest. Yeah. There will be more native trees. There will be less non-native grasses and weeds. The area will be fenced. It will have no grazing animals. All those are positive things for the native forest.
Yeah. You keep it simple like that, it's simple.
It is simple, yeah.
Yeah.
Where it gets complicated is how many trees are we going to plant? Well, that depends on how many of these we find. How much rot, no, not rot, but how much they scale out to be.
Right.
That's the balance. All this revenue goes into a fund, the fund which is controlled by the landowner and Paniolo. That fund collectively goes back into the forest. At the end of the day, there's $0 left in the fund, and the forest is restored. The land is handed back to the landowner.
Yeah.
To manage from then forward. But it's restored land. The hard stuff is done.
Yeah.
These are logs that serve as nurse logs. So seedlings will develop on these logs. This is thick moss here. It's covering these fallen trees. And there's a whole ecosystem going on right here at the fourth floor. You got club mosses, you got various plants. This is an lava substrate within Ho'a'ohia forest with a significant component of ia, which is a native Hawaiian vine. Second thing that happens is we do what we call site preparation. So the soil here, it's soft, but it's been compacted through cattle, and acacias don't like hard rooting conditions. Most trees don't, but acacias in particular are really lazy rooters, let's just call them that. They really don't like hard soil. So in here we have a special tool we brought from New Zealand. It's made by Wilco. We call it the chicken foot, but it's a ripper, the piece with a metal rake in the back. We push the grass to the side. Vidal is sitting on a mattress of grass. Then we bring the ripper in. The ripper is 3 feet deep, so under here there's a 3 foot deep shattered soil profile. The ripper comes out, and then the claw comes in and fills in the ripper hole. So something like this.
Finger on an excavator, it goes down.
It's one move, or is it like
1 meter deep
down?
Striking
4 holes a minute.
Opens it up.
First one pushes the grass away. The second one goes 3 feet down and makes a big disturbed hole. And then this pushes the dirt back in, so you have a filled hole that's soft.
Yes. So what we want.
And then you come with a little poker and just make a hole just big enough.
I want to be able to. My objective is I should be able to plant with the heel of my boot.
Okay.
Or something similar to that. It's freshly done, right? Soft.
Yeah,
you don't want the seedling to work too hard to get the roots around.
And when you plant a seedling, does it matter if it's like this one's not plumb, it's leaning? Does it always just straighten itself out and go up?
Early on, it's not, you don't want to plant them really leaning.
No, but
that's
it's not.
One of the planting checks. We also check them by pulling. This is already rooted in. This one already has a root ball that's probably that big.
Really?
It's only been in for a month and a half or so.
These things grow like a weed.
Yeah, it's downhill. We use an excavator here because line machines, a bulldozer or something, wouldn't be effective because we have so much natural forest here. So all we're trying to do is fill in between. And now have an entirely natural forest where it used to exist.
Now, are they trying to just make a natural forest here and walk away from it, or are they trying to make something?
It's dual purpose. Natural forest for the long term, and also restoration. Natural, so you got a native forest.
But
this is the only time.
But they're not trying to make a log source, a saw log source.
That's a secondary concern.
They may work it at some point to keep it cleaned up.
Let's just say we're giving the future generation more options than we have right now.
Right.
Good, well put.
Exactly. We continue our World Forestry Tour with a stop in Hawaii. We're on the Big Island here. We have a company that's a partnership of Taylor Guitars and Pacific Rim Tonewoods. Steve McMinn, the owner of Pacific Rim Tonewoods, is on this trip with us. He's been on it since the beginning. Here we seek to do some restoration work. We've been able to find ways to work with property owners and be able to help by pulling some of the value out of the trees that are dead and dying, help to do a lot of restoration of the forest. We've been working for a couple of years here. We've been able to supply our COA needs, and we've been able to walk out the back door of some of these forests with things being left in way better condition than they started. There's planting going on. We've got progeny trials, which is Really just finding families of koa trees that grow well in certain places where they might not grow well in others. Lots of testing. We're not the first people to do any of this, but we're coming in here and getting involved and trying to bring people together as much as we can, work in the islands to ensure that we've got koa in the future and ensure that these forests get better and better each year instead of worse and worse. There's some plantations going on the islands that are very, very interesting. We still believe in farming the wood. We think that that's going to be a fantastic way to get wood in the future. But there's also forest restoration. As Nick said it a little bit earlier when we were talking, that we will be able to leave the next generation with a lot more options than our generation had, and that's something that we really seek to do. So this has been a wonderful day on the Big Island. Tomorrow we go to Maui and see what's happening there. It's just been a fantastic stop on the World Forestry Tour.
Wasn't that fantastic? Nick did a great job. We learned so much about forestry on this stop, and I was frankly shocked at what I saw. Tomorrow, Maui, we're going to travel over there and we're going to see how sustainable forestry is being practiced on that island from other experts. You're going to love what you're going to see. Stay tuned for the next episode of Taylor Guitar's World Forestry Tour.